I tried to get to Andy Dalton. That's all I was trying to get to.
Look at this red rifle.
I know.
On Get Up right now.
I mean, I sent it to him. Little DM. I sent him little red rifle.
Stugotz, we're cheering because all the people are picking the Celtics again. I mean, they just don't stop. They just don't stop.
Let them pick it.
It is a must-win for them, so I'd kind of pick them too. I think.
Right.
Yeah, they're like 8-point favorites. They're like 8-point favorites.
Everyone on their team is questionable. Their entire roster, top to bottom.
Yeah, the Heat
the
too,
whole
though.
series is questionable.
The Heat lead the league when intending to warming up with intention to play. Like, they have 6 of those a game, and they're all rotation guys.
What's the point of that? But what is that all about?
It's obfuscation. It's all this stuff that coaches do. Yeah.
I mean, what is that? One subterfuge. What? So that they don't know what to prepare for. Like Robert Williams in the first couple of games, it seemed like the Heat had prepared for Robert Williams, and now he's got no longer a place in the series.
My favorite part is since this series began, the Celtics have had 3 guys that died, literally died, had a funeral, had.
Can we talk about this?
Thank you.
Can we talk
Wait
about
a minute.
this?
Do you agree with my assessment? I say if you're a Celtic player, okay, starting today and moving forward forever, as long as they're playing basketball in the NBA, if you get injured and you go back to the locker room, you are not allowed to come back on the court.
Just them,
That's
though.
it.
Just the Celtics.
The Celtics.
Just them.
We don't have to. You know, I can't dispute what Stugotz is saying. There needs to be a rule. They had 2. They squandered in a game 3 in the Eastern. You pathetic losers. Game 3. Eastern Conference Finals, you squandered 2 Willis Reed moments. You threw it out there in a 1-1 series, you cowards. You tried to scare everyone with heart and soul. Heart and soul Marcus Smart. They're showing it on the Jumbotron. Here he comes back into the arena.
I'm so done with them. And oh my God, like I said, we had funerals with eulogies, and then like in Anchorman 2, Brick showed up and gave his own eulogy. That's exactly what happened. Like Marcus Smart fell, and I felt bad because I'm in a group chat with a bunch of guys, Izzy and
Mike Schur.
and George, and not Mike Schur. And I said, "Oh man, I think Smart's done." Because he's screaming.
Yes, he's screaming.
Oh!
No, I mean, it looked horrible. I thought he broke his ankle. Yeah.
And ABC is like, don't you dare move that camera or that mic away from him. We're going to get every one of these last agonizing screams. And so my mind is going to Paul George. It's going to Gordon Hayward, right? And Zach Harper says, I don't trust him. He's too good of an actor. I said, Zach, he's screaming, man. He's screaming in agony. They take him to the back, and then, of course, we see, and of course, then the moment they put it on the Jumbotron, him kind of doing this gingerly jab step, ooh, my ankle, but I'll give it a try, runs out there, and for the rest of the game, loses the limp. Just plays great basketball the rest of the way. And I'm like, well, what's that about? I tell this to my kids all the time. If you cry like that, I don't want to see you 5 minutes later playing around, smiling and laughing. You better be in agony the rest of the day.
It's a great life lesson, man. You are a good dad.
Okay.
Thanks, Stugotz. I learned from the best.
Let's discuss this for a second then, because now the accusation has been made we are not an irresponsible show. We like to apply journalistic standards to what we're doing. But basically, you are saying the same thing that my mother said to me via text with agreement from my father. The Celtics are fakers. The Celtics are. Everyone now thinks this. Can we get this off the ground? The Celtics are fakers as a team. Going back to Paul Pierce shitting himself in that wheelchair, and now Stugotz is fed up. 2 in 1 game. You're wasting these.
And by the way, like, let's not forget, Al Horford warmed up, it went to shoot around on the day of game 1, and then tested positive for COVID. And in 48 hours, he's miraculously cured? Can we get his blood sample and spread this across the world to cure everybody? 48 hours, he goes from, I have COVID to, I'm good, I can play again. How does that work?
That happened with Tony here.
Oh, we're making stuff up. I mean, Whittingham came in here saying this. He's like, look, I want to put on a mask at the airport, but look, I've given up. I mean, that we've changed all the rules now. We are now ignoring COVID. We just decided after 2 years of bouncing all over each other, disagreeing about this like everything else, we've now decided, whatever.
Yeah, I blame the Deer District. But anyway, back to Boston for a second. I believe that we can get this off the ground, that the Celtics are fakers. Like now, you have the example with Tatum. You have Marcus Smart. Tatum was not hurt, by the way. He was embarrassed. He was not hurt. He was embarrassed. He came right back in and ran through a freaking screen, okay? So he was not hurt. But you have Paul Pierce. You have Jason Tatum. You have Marcus Smart. And now, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to question whether or not Larry Bird actually needed ice on his back.
Yeah.
Like, I am starting to question
fine.
everything and everybody, you know?
His back was fine, Stugotz.
Exactly.
His whole story about, like, by the way, you know how he hurt his back originally? You guys know this story?
Oh, yes. By like tarring his own driveway.
Yeah, shoveling his mom's driveway.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. Like, it's just everything about it is built into this mythology. You know what? You know what's a mythology? That the Celtics are like the winningest franchise. All this pre-merger championships, get out of here with that. You guys have 4 championships. That's it. And guess what? When Miami wins one this year, they're going to match the Celtics in championships. How about that?
What are you doing? What is that all about?
Pandering.
Pre-merger.
Yeah, he's in Miami.
Cows. You saw. You
Wow,
guys.
I really thought I was going to get like a rousing support from this show. Instead,
We're on
everyone
already,
went
yeah.
on, started emailing.
Mike's off today, sorry.
Editing the last segment. Like that's,
You thought you were going to get some support on rallying Miami around you. No, because I want your real analysis, not this fake ass analysis. Because you come into Miami and you're trying to get our numbskulls here fired up. Everyone expects the Celtics to win tonight. Everyone thinks that these two teams are roughly equal. You said before the series, you said you think Miami is better. Hard stop.
yes, and I continue to believe that. Jimmy Butler, by the way, the word is he is going to give it a go today because that's but without like cameras around him and like agonizing screaming on the ground and maybe a wheelchair. None of that. He just says, "Hey, was out for the second half." Comes out in a press release, and then you know what? Game 4, I'll be there. That's how you do it.
But
you're not a look at me, Louie.
Okay, is this where we are though, Stugotz? As well. Look, I just saw. Was it Mike Freeman wrote an article about the 10 worst fan bases in all of sports? We last week were doing is it Celtics fans or Heat fans, and this series needs to inflame a little more. And are you alleging right now that PJ Tucker and Jimmy Butler more represent what that Boston pride is supposed to be about, and Marcus Smart and Jason Tatum and Paul Pierce are all just playing wrestling character because they want to tell the Rudy story to the people of Boston? You're saying the Miami Heat are more authentically tough. You're saying the Boston Celtics are, oh, if Tatum's going 3 for 14, he's embarrassed and he's going back to the locker room for a minute.
I'm saying the Miami Heat are who the Boston Celtics think they are.
Wish they were.
Wish they were. Wow, you took it a step further.
Are you willing to take it a step further? Are you willing to take it from who they think they are to who they wish they were? Are you willing to make that next escalation?
Should I say it, guys?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Over here.
Be careful. Be careful.
Say it, I mean. You're in Miami, say it.
Dan,
Whoa, what?
the Boston Celtics. Oh, I messed it up, damn.
Too much
You're gonna
pressure
say
on
our
it. You
back,
got the
yeah.
crowd.
Here
You
we
got
go.
the crowd
He
all
was gonna
riled up
cheer
behind
to the
you.
wrong fan
You're
base,
feeling
yeah.
good about yourself.
I wish I had my slide whistle with me right now.
Where is it?
What happened?
It's in my backpack. It's in the kitchen.
Go get it.
Go get it.
Yeah,
We'll
go
wait
get it.
for
You gotta
you.
get it.
We'll
You
get
gotta
it
get
right
back
the
to
next
it.
time.
In the
Yeah,
meantime, I have a
get
question
off.
for you guys, if you like. Would you rather coach your sons or LeBron James?
Huh.
So I don't
Sons.
presently have. So like your children,
Yes.
or LeBron James. LeBron James's children,
is there-
or just
is there a
LeBron?
No, or
reason-
LeBron James.
Is there a reason other than to filibuster while Amin gets his flute?
No,
Is
it's
there
a good
reason
question.
that you're
It's topical.
Because
well-
Juwan Howard chose not to coach the Lakers to coach his sons instead at Michigan.
Stugotz, would you rather coach Northwestern lacrosse this upcoming season or the Lakers?
I think Northwestern lacrosse. There is something
Oh,
that's
bullshit.
It's I'm total bullshit. I'd rather coach
Way to
LeBron
go, way to
James.
go.
What am I
That's
talking
Billy's
about?
been producing Stugotz for a long time, and he cuts him off at the pass. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, there's millions of dollars and fame, fortune, all of it attached to coaching LeBron James. I chose my daughters.
Billy,
What a phony.
I immediately read that differently. It's funny that you should say phony because, Billy, when I read Juwan Howard turns down LeBron James, I mean, I don't know, maybe you have some information on this. My first thought was, that's not about his kids. That's about he was with the Heat when LeBron was here. He doesn't want to be around any of that.
Oh, no. If it was LeBron from the Heat, he'd be around it. But it's not that LeBron. Wow. It's old LeBron.
Wait, whoa. Are you saying LeBron from the Heat, he is choosing that over his kids at Michigan? You're saying that,
Absolute,
yes?
100%.
A
chance to coach the absolute best player in the league, who might be the best player of all time. At the peak of his talents, no one passes that up. Nobody. No one's like, but, Juwan Howard Jr., what about him? No, he'll be fine. He's all right. He's at a D1 school.
Because when I want to talk about this for a second, because people can make it about how lovely it is to decide to coach your sons instead of LeBron James. But I think Juwan Howard just made a better career move because
absolutely,
and it's stunning to say when you're talking about the Lakers job, but he gets the job he wants. Juwan Howard isn't Fizdale. Juwan Howard came from an assistant here on this staff in Miami, parlayed it into the Michigan job, a very cool job for him, and he can have it for a very long time coaching his sons and has probably gained the perspective. This is a dude, does he have $200 million contracts in his career? Was that?
I know he had at least one because one was, he signed two because one was voided down here. You remember?
But I mean, Juwan Howard has money, and it might be about the kids, but it might be about just the better job to have life happiness.
It's 100% about the better job. Two things. One is it's not him coaching at Kentucky or Duke or another blue blood school. It's him coaching at his alma mater, Michigan, which, by the way, they were excommunicated from for a little bit there. So a lot of this is
a job that made him weep at the initial press conference because of what he went through with the Fab Five and what, he was formed by all things Michigan. And it legitimately means, you can make the argument, I think, that it means, can I make the argument that it means more to coach at Michigan for Juwan Howard than it does for Jim Harbaugh?
I asked the guys in here, should I feed Dan?
He seems hungry, yeah.
Dan, this guy grew up in some of the toughest circumstances in Chicago.
Dan, put your shirt back on.
And Michigan really changed his life, right? Yeah. You know, in terms of made him into the man he is and obviously opened the door for millions and millions of dollars for him playing professionally. So Michigan absolutely is a special job to him. But the other part of the equation isn't just, I love Michigan so much. I don't like it. The other part of the equation is the Lakers are a dumpster fire. Where is this roster going? What are they doing? What are they going to do with Russell Westbrook? This team isn't good. LeBron is 100 years old, right? Anthony Davis is hurt all the time.
But you don't think this is a really good opportunity for Juwan Howard? If he's going to take available coaching jobs, they will almost certainly be bad. This is probably the best coaching job you're going to get.
No. Because Juwan Howard now, by coaching at Michigan and doing well, gets to be the guy that says, I don't have to take a shitty job like Steven Silas had to in Houston, like Jamal Mosley had to in Orlando. Those guys had to, because that was their first and only opportunity in literally decades of assistant coaching. For Juwan Howard, he's made that jump already. And he's gone from assistant to a head coaching job that's a good job. It's not like he's at Western Kentucky. He's at Michigan. This is a blue blood school and his alma mater. So now he gets to operate from a position of power. It's like, I don't get to take the job that's available. I get to choose what job I want.
I don't like what he's doing with Michigan, by the way, Juwan, personally. I feel like if he's in his position, which he is, obviously he's in his position.
Thank you, Billy, for clarifying that.
What he should be doing is he should be saying, you know what, you put those banners back up right now about the Fab Five. You put them up right now or I'm going to Ohio State. That's what I'm doing to you.
Leverage it.
Not the Lakers. I'm going to Ohio State. You spit on me. You were ungrateful for everything that me and my teammates did for this school. I'm leaving you, and I'm going to crush you at the Ohio State University.
I mean, the Fab Five is a rare style. Like Juwan Howard, the whole history of that. Stugotz, we've lived long enough to have this stuff be history because the 30 for 30 is coming out now on ESPN of the 2001 Ravens, like the most bodacious, baddest team football has ever seen because of the, the crazy defense that they won with. The Fab Five were a cultural spot, right? They were the rare college team that had style, a college team that was super black and in your face and young, and Jalen Rose is still on television and still doing the analysis out there, and Chris Webber has a biopic coming out because you could tell a lot of the stories in sports and race and through those teams and those times. Juwan Howard, he was imprinted by them and then came down here to Miami and became a player and a coach and was around the LeBron James stuff. Did you find funny at all while watching the broadcast? Stephen A. Smith was asked about the 3 Laker candidates and said, I don't like it at all. Don't like any of them. Not Stotts, not any of them. And they said, who should it be? And he was like, Mark Jackson or Jeff Van Gundy. And I'm like, really? Just the guys, both the guys you're doing the guys you're doing the broadcast with? That's where we are with the Lakers job. Juwan Howard doesn't want it, and Stephen A. just wants to give it to his friends. Like, that's an iconic franchise.
A genuine.
Can someone explain to me how Terry Stotts is going to work with LeBron James? Is that a play to get Damian Lillard? Like, Terry Stotts is I know he was a good coach in Portland, but LeBron James is not being coached by Terry Stotts. I don't know what I'm doing there, but he's not being coached by Terry Stotts.
He looks like a member of Parliament. He's not going to get along with Clutch. Like, that's what you're doing. What do you mean?
But Stugotz, they just won it with Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel was this guy 3 years ago. The question that I was going to ask before you said that was, why does LeBron James never get A+ coaching candidates? Is it perhaps because he doesn't want A+ coaching candidates? Is it because A+ coaching candidates are not attracted to working with LeBron and being scapegoated?
Kyrie just said the quiet part that people aren't quoted on. He went on, I guess, I Am Athlete and said LeGM. Everyone knows that he's the GM, and they try to mask it, and I don't even know. They don't need to, really. I mean, they try to mask it just so that they don't get judged for the failures, but it's obvious that what happened in Miami, LeBron James took whatever he thought the secrets were. Man, we're seeing this with the Patriots organizationally and Tom Brady. Michael Jordan fought with Jerry Krause about this. Who's responsible for the success around here? Is it me or you? And LeBron's like, well, it's me. I got it. And he won in Cleveland and had it reinforced, and he won it in Lakers and had it reinforced, and he's a champion forever. But he thought he was taking the organizational structure with him in a moving van, and all he did was get Carmelo Anthony and ruin the end of the Lakers. They're doomed, and people are now whispering about, did you hear Pelinka and Sean Marks had a secret meeting because maybe they can figure out how to get Kyrie for Westbrook.
Yeah, that's just...
Why the hell? Let's do that.
When we talk about reckless speculation, this was... I thought Stugotz said it when I saw that news story. Because people said they saw Sean Marks and Rob Pelinka at the Marriott Marquis in Chicago. And then everything else after that was just fill in the blanks. Oh, they must be talking about Kyrie and Russ. It's just insane, first of all. Second of all, you asked why Terry Stotts, Stugotz.
Yes.
If you listen to Rob Pelinka's press conference when they announced they were letting go of Frank Vogel, the person that they describe is not General Patton. They don't want some taskmaster. They want somebody who's smart, knows their stuff, but I'm not really too married to anything. I'll do whatever you guys want. That's what they're looking for. That's
a guy they can control.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying.
But that's what Rob Pelinka's describing. And then finally, the whole LeGM thing. It's ridiculous, man. It's not just, hey, I like that player. That's it. There's so much more to the job. And at the end of the day, Rob Pelinka's job isn't just to rubber stamp what LeBron wants. It's to do this within the context of what's best for the team. David Griffin in Cleveland did that. He's like, LeBron said he wants more help and all this stuff. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to figure out the things that make sense through that. So that was the J.R. Smith deal, right? Getting Shumpert and J.R. Smith.
And Mozgov as well.
Yeah, that was getting Channing Frye the next year.
But I mean, those are the moves in the margins, though.
Sure.
I don't think LeBron is saying, like, go get me Alex Caruso.
They traded Andrew Wiggins for Kevin Love.
But we can agree, right? But we can agree that was LeBron's doing. We can agree that getting Anthony Davis was LeBron's doing. We can agree that getting Russell Westbrook was LeBron's doing. Like, the big stuff is LeBron. It's not Rob Pelinka going, I'm going to go get Anthony Davis and give everything up. Although, I mean, any GM in the league might have.
And Anthony Davis, by the way.
But it was very clearly orchestrated by LeBron James.
Well, Anthony Davis, to me, it's not orchestrated by LeBron James because everybody wanted Anthony Davis.
Okay, the Russell Westbrook thing.
The Westbrook thing is interesting because they had an opportunity to do a deal for depth with Buddy Hield or do this big swing for Russell Westbrook. At some point, like as a GM, even though your star player wants this dude, you got to sit there with a whiteboard and list out literally all the reasons why we can't do this. And number one among them has to be like, have you seen this guy play when the ball isn't in his hands? Because we know, LeBron, the ball's going to be in your hands. That's the way it's been for 18 years. Every time they say, well, LeBron's going to play off ball a little bit. By like December, he's back on ball. So we can't kid ourselves. Part of the job is, yes, sometimes you're going to have disagreements with him, and you got to convince him to see it your way. Not just say, well, LeBron wanted that. I don't know what to do.
I don't think that's how working with LeBron James works. I mean,
I
disagree. Daryl Morey did Daryl Morey get trampled by James Harden? Because I don't think he would make the Russell Westbrook trade in a million years.
I don't think he got trampled by James Harden in the sense that Harden said, because Harden's not like that. He's very passive aggressive, like
which LeBron is too.
But LeBron's aggressive, passive aggressive. Like Harden literally just won't talk. He'll just stop talking to people. That's his way of saying I'm done with it. Chris Paul at that point had become an irritant, right? And they sat there and said, all right, either we're going with Chris or we're going with James. James is younger. James is an MVP. Chris is good, but like, whatever. And so you say, well, Russ is his best friend, and maybe this attacking, driving style could work or whatever. That's the calculus there for.
So I mean, you flatly don't believe that the player power thing is as big of a deal as we've made it out to be. Like LeBron James running the Lakers is not a thing that actually happens.
I think it's way louder out there than it actually is, and I also think there's a part of this that when people do that, you are basically getting Rob Pelinka off the hook, right? Like, Rob, it's not your fault. LeBron wanted it. Oh, no, part of the job is also being like, we're not doing that dumbass shit. We're not doing it because this. And it's dumb from a perspective of trying to win a championship right now, and it's dumb in terms of the assets we're giving up for it, and it's dumb in terms of where it puts us in the salary cap. It literally was, look, there's a 0.1% chance this works. And if it doesn't work, we have zero options left. And that's what you see. All of this, they might trade for Kyrie. No one's trading that shit, man. No one wants Russell Westbrook's contract. No one wants, other than maybe a team that's struggling and it's like, hey, this guy.
Stephen A. says that Anthony Davis's contract doesn't have any value.
I think it has value. It doesn't have as much value as it did a year ago. But again, Anthony Davis, for all the criticisms, he's still sub 30 years old and really great at basketball when he plays, when he's healthy. And so that's someone that we know can take a team that's bad and make them mediocre. Is he a championship caliber player by himself? Probably not. At this point, I would say the combination of his health and then also kind of he tends to disappear sometimes. But if you're a bad team, if you're Sacramento, are you saying no to Anthony Davis? Hell no. Give me. I'll take his contract.
But help me with what Ethan Strauss is doing on Substack. He is writing some of the best basketball stuff I see being written anywhere. And he called Pelinka fraud the other day, and he doesn't do that very much. And he also wrote something about the Lakers in general, which I don't feel like a lot of people know because it's so glamorized and worth so much money. But it's a mom and pop shop. Like, it really is something like it's being chronicled now in winning time in a way that's fictional, but not. And the Lakers are a giant behemoth of a machine, and the dysfunction at the top of the organization seems real because she is just leaning on Kurt Rambis, and we're still going back to Phil Jackson, and there are like 50 people involved with helping in the decision making.
Back to Magic.
And LeBron is in charge there. Like, LeBron is the strongest personality there. They brought their business to Los Angeles, and he'll have the coaches he wants and the players that he wants. And yes, an organization has to work around him. But the Ethan Strauss that was writing about Pelinka made me feel like, as a former agent, that Pelinka's kind of crawling around looking like Rob Lowe and just being the guy who's an administrative assistant for the stuff that LeBron generally needs. That the king, the guy who was the king and decided in Miami, I'll do it myself. The king at the end is going to go and be a version where Pelinka works for him, not the other way around.
So Dan, let me start with, you called it a mom and pop shop, and I think a lot of people listening who aren't kind of super deep into NBA world are like, wait, they own the Lakers. How could it be a mom and pop shop? Let me play a little exercise for you. Dan, who owns the Miami Heat?
Mickey Harrison.
Where is the source of most of his wealth from?
His family. The cruise industry.
The cruise industry. There you go. Who owns the New York Knicks?
James Dolan.
Where is the source of most of his wealth from?
Owning a cable company.
Cablevision, right?
His band.
What's the name of that band, Billy?
JD and the Straight Shot.
Yes. Can we don't have the licensing on
True
that
story.
music.
True story.
Can we pay for it?
They
No.
when I worked there,
How
we
much
had to
could it
go to
be?
an event where he was playing like some bar or something. Yeah.
And how was it?
Your point is
So Dallas Mavericks, who owns them?
Mark Cuban.
Where did he get his
broadcast,
money from? Broadcast.com. Okay. Lakers. Their money is from the Lakers. So, you can say, but Jerry Buss owned real estate, whatever. Yeah, it was like a few $1 million back in the 80s. Like now, Jeannie Buss is not.
Deep water. I've seen Winning Time.
Yeah, Jeannie Buss doesn't have another job that she goes to that handles where the money is coming from, right? The money comes from this. So during the lockout, when almost every team, even the quote-unquote cheap ones, were like, all right, guys, everyone's taken care of, your salaries taken care of through the lockout until we're going to see this thing out. The Lakers were letting go of everybody, video coordinators, trainers, anybody who wasn't like contract employee with, hey, you owe me this money no matter what. They were all let go of. Why? Just to save money, because they don't have the wherewithal. If the doors aren't open, if people aren't buying jerseys and stuff, they don't have the wherewithal to pay people out, right? Or don't want to, either or. So that's the context within which the Lakers operate.
It's crazy to think about, though. Nobody thinks about that brand that way. That nobody. It is so flimsy at its core. I mean, this thing that is a giant sports icon is run by a family, and not just that, but a family that sometimes in public looks like it doesn't know what it's doing.
Dysfunctional family, right? A dysfunctional family. This isn't like Mickey Harrison and Nick Harrison and kind of like this tight-knit thing. You've got infeuding, you've got a chain of like a succession that we don't know. And Ethan,
literal succession, right? You're talking about family succession because there's a 30-year-old. So yeah, and Jeannie ran off one of the brothers, correct? They were all angling for, no, I want to run the family business, and this is our money. And it is Succession, like the TV show.
Yes, absolutely. And like Succession, there are people outside the family who have influence. And so this is one of the worst kept secrets within basketball. You said Kurt Rambis. Dan, it's not Kurt Rambis.
It's Laura.
Linda Rambis.
It's a fine.
Linda Rambis has been described as the shadow GM of the Lakers. Like, she's the one, because that's Jeannie's best friend, and she listens. Oh, wow, it's big money fine there. And so Linda
pays them when I'm not there.
So Linda Rambis is the one, right? Now Kurt chips in too because he's part of that, and Phil, because Kurt and Phil are close, he's part of that, and Magic, because Jeannie's known Magic for forever, he's part of it too. Even after he quit without telling her, he quit to me before he did to Jeannie Buss.
What?
Yeah, I was there in the hallway when he's like doing his and we're like, have you talked to Jeannie yet? And he's like, no. And like, well, you told me first before you told Jeannie that you're quitting? Like, how does that make sense? But like, that's the Lakers, right?
Wait, you can't just stop there without moving on. I want to know more about this.
So,
everything, every little detail.
This is funny because Magic knows he's bigger than the Lakers. Magic's always kind of been Jeannie's boss. He saw, man, you're watching it in Winning Time. He made that family so much goddamn money.
Sure. So Dan, travel with me back in time to the last day of the 2018-2019 regular season, Lakers versus, I don't even remember who it was that day. I'm in the media room. It's like, hey, Magic is addressing the media. I'm like, oh, you don't get to hear the president of basketball operations just talk. I'm like, are they in the press conference room? Like, no, he's in the hallway outside the locker room. Cool. Walk over there, and there's this, group of people, and that's when he says, and that's why I'm stepping down from the president of the I'm like, wait, what? And so that group starts to grow and grow, and Magic literally holds court for something like 45 straight minutes. Like, usually those things are quick.
Telling all of you guys why he's quitting, and he's not a quitter, and he's not, I'm Magic. I don't need to do this crap anymore.
Dude, he went around the room like Jim Hill, Chris Haynes.
This is how he can manipulate you guys. He's been running the media forever. No, it's super charming.
He got me.
He's gotten over on everybody for 30 years.
Dan, he looked at me and said, Amin, I want your job. And I'm like, why is Magic Johnson telling me this? Why is he telling me he wants my job? I'm like, it's like, oh, yeah, I miss doing that. And then later on, he circles back and he started talking about, like, people in the media talking about, things, misconstruing things. And it's like, and he looks at me like, Amin, you say things. I know you say things. And I said, what did I say? And then he said, well, maybe you didn't say it. And
he charmed you with bullshit, with nothing, because he's Magic.
And then and on his way out, he dapped me up and gave me a big hug.
Yes.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that was my first time meeting Magic Johnson.
Yes. That's how he's done it for so many years. That's it. This is the funny secret nobody knows, and Magic's been doing it in television and throughout the corridors of fame for a long time, is he makes you feel like you matter, and the next thing he does is walk out of the room, and you're not saying he's a quitter. I'm like, he quit his job. He never wanted to do that job.
He made some good points. I wish more people were more, upstanding and like would claim their flaws like that. We should all be like Magic. I literally lost my mind. By the way, he didn't leave. He went and talked like to Rachel Nichols after that, and then a little bit later he went and talked to like Young
He worked the room.
He worked everybody. Like, dude, I've never seen this in my life in the history of sports media availability. I've never seen a point where literally everyone ran out of questions. Like, this dude just quit.
He'd still be sitting there answering your question so you wouldn't say he was a quitter.
Everybody, like, literally, like, we just looked around, like, at 45 minutes in, and as everyone walks away, he walks and he does his individuals as he's walking out to the ramp. And then at some point, he says, anybody else? And we're all like, nah, I think that kind of covered it. And that was it. That was it. Yo.
I think I'd actually be okay if he stabbed me in the back with a wink and a smile. I think I would actually be okay.
You would be complimenting the kind of knife he used.
Put it on the poll.
I would. I'd be happy about it. Yes.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. If Magic Johnson stabbed you in the back with a wink and a smile, would you be complimenting the knife he used?
Does anyone else feel bad for Jimmy King or Ray Jackson? Billy, thank you for bringing up the Fab Five today. I mean, I'm serious. Juwan Howard has a job at Michigan, okay? Chris Webber is doing games for TNT and NBA TV. He's a Hall of Famer. Jalen Rose, well, not anymore, okay. But Jalen Rose has had a great 20-year run. How about Jimmy King and Ray Jackson?
Exactly.
It wasn't the terrific three. It was the Fab Five. What happened to those two guys? Jimmy King, when you needed 10 points, he'd get you 14. Ray Jackson, a defensive stopper. When you needed a guy, you thought he was going to score 20. If Ray was defending him, he'd score 14. That's how good those two guys were. Ray Jackson, Jimmy King. That is the Fab Five. That's what the Fab Five is all about. And they get left out of this discussion.
What are you doing?
Every single. I am tired of it. It's always about those three. Never about Jimmy. Yeah. Never about Ray.
I have an idea.
They don't get any of the jobs.
I have an idea, Stugotz. You should do a podcast with them. Call it The Terrific Two. And then it's the two forgotten from the Fab Five.
He says, and he'll do nothing else other than give you that word done.
Yep.
I just feel bad for anybody else in Stugotz's house because he is screaming.
What's going on, Stugotz?
Your neighbors can hear you.
Stugotz, explain to us what happened there. You decided.
I've been thinking about Ray and Jimmy for years now. When Bill brought it up, and it ticks me off every single time. What are those three that those two did?
Exactly.
Stugotz.
He's right, though.
We're all there together. It was all five of them. Yep.
When Billy brought it up,
yeah,
Billy was only bringing it up because Billy is only interested in causing problems.
No,
and
false.
you have derailed the show.
Cares about Ray.
You have derailed the show with your fury, and for some reason, you decided to say when you needed 10 points, he'd give you 14, and I was waiting for the next punchline, which is, and when you needed 18, he'd give you 14. I thought that's where you were going, but you were too serious.
Jimmy was good. If you needed 18, he'd give you 22. Dan, he always gave you 4 more than you thought you needed.
No, that's not true. When you needed 4 more, sometimes he'd give you 4 less, and therefore he was not Juwan Howard or Chris Webber or any of these better players, Jalen Rose, who had professional careers as well and were a part of the Fab Five that were excellent in basketball later. But I don't know why you're so angry about it.
They always get left out of the discussion. They're like afterthoughts. It's always those three, and then those two are afterthoughts. Okay, you know what you can't measure, Dan? Intangibles.
That's right.
You can't measure heart. You can't measure defense.
Well, wait a minute.
You can't measure
I
these
can
things.
measure it. I can measure it the way the Celtics are doing
You can't
it.
measure defense?
You're telling me. I mean, that Marcus Smart and these guys are faking it. You're telling me they're faking. You're a national broadcaster. We can talk about I want to talk more about the Lakers thing, but as LeBron howls from vacation, you saw this, right? Quote, "It's a weird feeling to feel so alone sometimes." I don't know. During the playoffs, people aren't paying attention to him, and LeBron James is just throwing out into the universe. I feel so.
Imagine how Jimmy King felt. I mean, jeez.
So weird that you would get that angry about that. I don't understand.
Go to Target. You won't be alone, LeBron. I promise you.
Also, we're into a minute 40 of filling time until Amin got his slide whistle.
Yeah.
Well, you can continue the point from there if you wanted.
So if Woody drops his phone,